Right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today, Swivlers. We are happy to have you join us for a brand new venture of how we're going to be presenting our webinars to you. And I hope that you all are going to find this to be more
Join us
informative
for a
and
brand new.
as well as very useful also. So joining me today are my fellow partners in crime. I have Oksana and Vince. They will be, joining in the conversation, helping to talk about different things that we have going on here at Swivl as well. Something that you might be noticing that is a little bit different is that we are live streaming on our social media platform. So you can see us on YouTube. You should also be able to see us on Twitter as well. And the videos will be housed there also. So if you're not able to join live, that's fine. You can definitely look at those videos at a later date. So please, you're more than welcome to join us, watch live, participate in the chat. We will be having those questions pop up on the screen as well and discuss. So we want this to be very interactive and, hope you enjoy. All right. Looks like we got Aaron from Orlando. Welcome back. Well, thank you, Aaron. I know we've been gone. I hope you had a great break out there. One of our many followers, I'm sure, there. So appreciate that. So today, what we're going to be talking about is something that I know when I was in the classroom, I struggled with a bit as well, is just a proper way of giving feedback or even receiving feedback. And with Swivl, we have a very unique tool that helps out that. So you can sort of deepen that self-reflection model called sessions. And so you see, we just have a question that came up there. If have you ever heard of sessions before? And don't worry if you haven't. This is, it's not a prerequisite for listening to this stream today, but we are going to be talking about that as well as some of the cool, wonderful things that you're going to be able to do with, of course, sessions. Also joining us today is Rachel, who is the brainchild of Sessions. She's going to be very modest about this, but I like to talk to her because it's very well deserved. So, Rachel, what can you tell us a little bit about Sessions?
Sure. Thanks for having me. And yes, I'm going to continue to be modest. It's absolutely a group effort among myself, our leadership, our designers, our project team, everyone. And, of course, informed by years of working with customers and learning about your pain points and needs. So Sessions is a multi-step process to allow yourself to be completely immersed in reflection and collaboration with another individual. It starts off with you defining your intent for using a video to collect evidence. I think a lot of people skip that step. They kind of just go into a video recording. They have a general goal in mind, but maybe you need to be a little bit more specific in that particular video so you can be more actionable about what it is you want to record in the first place to make sure that you've got all the pieces of the puzzle set up before we even dive into the recording itself. So you set an intention, that's your first step. Then you go into the feedback piece. And if you're working alone, if you're working in a self-reflection capacity, you just give yourself feedback at various points throughout the video, just as you would normal commenting if you were working with another person. And then lastly, we ask you to summarize your entire experience, thinking about your specific action items, things that you learned throughout the video review process, and where your next steps will be. And you can just create this nice summary that will remain on the video, so you'll always have a reference point for next time when you're ready to engage in your next video upload.
Excellent. Thank you for that overview of sessions. And again, as I kind of mentioned at the top, I know when I was definitely still in the classroom, but it's not just a teacher need, I would say, or something that they would like to work on. Do this in your life in general, just reflecting on things that have happened. I was one of those that probably didn't do it the best. I would think about it and maybe write down, okay, this is what went wrong and this is what went right, and maybe this is what I'll do next time. And that's kind of it. But that's may not be the most useful way of doing it. And video is definitely a very powerful tool that you can use. But I want to just pose this as the group, and you out there and are in the chat as well. Is how many of you find self-reflection useful? Is there anyone that does it all the time? Is this something that well, I've never needed it? And just kind of, what are your thoughts on that? And while we're waiting for some of those responses to come in, I'm gonna say, Oksana, would you like to share? How do you find self-reflection?
I think self-reflection is super important, and it could help teachers in so many ways to develop professionally, to develop personally, to help develop their kids, their colleagues. So there are so many things that self-reflection can do for a newcomer, for a very experienced teacher, for a teacher who has just decided to change a little bit of sphere of teaching, let's say, or a school or organization. So it could assist in a great number of ways, in my opinion.
Definitely, yes, I would agree with that. I know for me as well, it's very valuable. I find that thinking about things that I could, that went on throughout the course of a lesson is beneficial, because, that's kind of how you improve. That's how you grow. You might modify and make those changes. I used to, when I was teaching middle school, we had the different periods. I always would say, okay, my first period, you're my guinea pigs. And so you're going to be the ones that I'm testing this stuff out with. And throughout the course of that, minor adjustments. And then by seventh period, it's usually pretty much.
So. I had the same exact experience, Kelvin. I felt so bad for my first period sometimes, especially because it was the morning. Well, second period too, we were on block scheduling, right? So it was like first and then second period the next day. It's like, at least though, by that second period, by seventh period, I kind of like gained my bearings a little bit, but it was still early, and it almost felt like a new lesson. Yeah, same here.
It definitely does. And that's the thing that, is so nice about it, because with sessions, because it does allow you to be able to sort of organize your thoughts and make them a little bit more coherent. And it does help to save time as well, because that's the other thing that I found, is that oftentimes I just don't have enough time in the day to do all these things. And, and on top of that too, I'll be honest, my memory is probably not the best. So sometimes I don't get to that reflection piece either till the end of the day, usually, or maybe even the next day, or sometimes. And I was like, okay, I believe this is how it went. But nice thing with video is, well, it doesn't lie. It's right there, in front of you. I was going to say black and white, but we have color video now, so it's going to be in color for you. So that is great. What do you all think about that, as far as with the saving the time, and then again, video obviously doesn't lie as well,
I'm glad you mentioned that about saving time, because that's one of the reasons why we felt it was really important to introduce the intention first, because even though it takes an extra step to formulate your thoughts around what it is you want to accomplish, that like extra few minutes could save you several hours of video review. Because if you just set up your video to run throughout the course of a school day, and then you're later trying to piece together what went on, especially if something completely derailed your lesson that day, like maybe there was a fire drill or something, and your like mind is just shot because like it just threw off your whole day. So if you go into your lesson with a well-defined preset intention, first of all, you're going to record shorter periods of time, so you're not going to spend upwards of an hour watching even a 40-minute class session. You're going to record maybe 10 to 15 minutes, because you're looking for something really specific. And then your review process will naturally be shorter, because you won't have as much to go through and sift through later. So I'm really glad you mentioned that about saving time.
Excellent.
And
Thank you.
that is
Yes.
great that
Go
you
ahead.
have mentioned the purpose, the intention. Yeah. So before you start doing some kind of recording for self-reflection, it's very important to understand why you're doing it right today for this specific class. Yeah, just because I wanna have a look at myself introducing a topic, or how I feel about making some kind of quiz to my kids or something like that. So there should be, like, it seems to me, yeah, the specific intention, the purpose that you put before you start the recording of each of these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly, because I'm the type of person that tends to struggle from distractions. So my mind is not necessarily focused on one idea all the time. I'll be doing something, that something else pops in my head, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's interesting." I start working on that, and then it's like, "Ooh, I'm going on these different tangents." So it was really hard for me, especially when I was in the classroom, to kind of pick one thing to focus on, because there were so many things that either I was interested in or that I felt that I wanted to improve in to become a better teacher as well. And it's like, I can't really just pick one. And so this is really nice, because you set that intention, you're more purposeful. So it's like, okay, I know I'm focusing on this. So when I am watching the video and recording, that's what I'm going to hone in on.
Mm-hmm.
To make it more purposeful and meaningful in the long run. Which,
And even if you already have videos sitting in your library that are full length classes, you can always trim down portions, take cuts of that video, just work with a 10-minute segment at a time. Convert that into a session and set the intention for that. It's just much more manageable to break it up into chunks, right? Like, this is how we teach our students too, especially students who struggle with reading. Like, we don't have them read an entire chapter. We chunk it out for them, and we analyze as we go. And it's the same thing with our own professional learning.
Excellent. Yes. So, well, I think what we're going to do now is kind of move on, and we have a couple of slides that we want to show you exactly what that looks like as far as with sessions, but make it more meaningful as we're going through to talk about what that might look like for you doing a self-reflection on a particular intention that you had set. Okay. Let's share our screen there.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
I do that all the time, Kelvin. Same exact thing. I always press share instead of present.
I was like, I think they did that purposeful just to
really
mess with people. They put those buttons right together, and I swear, I was like, I clicked on that, and then no.
I think they might have the same mindset of us, though. Like, we want to promote collaboration too, so we just put it in your face. Working in product has taught me that no button is just errantly placed. There's a reason behind it. So,
yeah, I would imagine so. Yes. All right. So, as I will obviously present the slides. I know Rachel has some shares that she's going to do with this. But if you do have anything that, as we're going through this, that piques your curiosity, you have any questions, please feel free, drop those in the chat, and we will make sure that we address them. So as you can see here, we have our various viewing modes, but our newest one is, of course, sessions. And as we had mentioned before, this is going to be definitely used for lots of various things, but self-reflection chief among them. You can do this with that one-to-one video coaching. Something that I really is interested in actually is down here on 5 and 6 is those student learning as well as student presentations. So it has lots of various uses other than just, self-reflection for your own personal growth, which I wanted to definitely point out for you. All right. Oops.
wanted to point out that celebration really does happen in the platform. It's not just for the video, because we do want to celebrate you getting through this process on your own, without even without the advice of a coach or a mentor or another peer. Tapping into your own internal, reflective state is really hard to do, because it forces you to be very vulnerable about what your strengths and weaknesses are, and it's important that you feel comfortable with that. So we do want to celebrate you when you get to the end of a session.
Definitely, yes. And I like that part of the sessions, and you would be surprised how many people that we talk to that when they get to the end, they like, oh yay, they celebrate, super excited, and say that's one of their favorite parts as well. Because again, we all like, feeling that sense of accomplishment and knowing that, hey, we're being celebrated. So that is definitely a nice little add-on, and we do get a lot of positive comments about it.
Good. Great.
So now that you kind of have that overall feel, we were just going to share maybe an example or two of what that process would look like. And for me, one of my favorite examples, and it's funny how many teachers that I've talked to that said, yes, I could definitely use it for this because I am one that has that problem. But because again, when your intention is not necessarily going to be the same as everyone else's, it's just what it is, the area that you feel that you want to grow in. Okay. So again, and that will look different for everyone. But one that
Well, it
seems
looks different
that,
for every video too.
yes, very good point. I like that, for every video also. But one that seems to be pretty common amongst people is saying or like throughout the course of their lesson. So I find a lot of teachers saying that my intention is to work on not saying or like so much throughout the course of my lesson, because that's something that I do tend to struggle on, that I really don't notice, but I get a lot of comments from my students and say, Mr. Patrick, you say a lot. I was like, oh, really? So you would set that intention for that video. That's what you're going to be looking on. And then when you watch the video, so for that self-reflection piece, I like to recommend that you watch it at least twice. That first time, you watch it all the way through just to get that the first time viewing of videos out of the way. A lot of people, my voice sounds like that, or I didn't realize I'm a hand talker, or oh my gosh, I need to make sure I bring a brush to school because my hair. I've heard it all, trust me.
Yeah.
So you watch the video first time through not a critical lens, get all the superficial stuff out of the way. And then maybe that second time around, that's when you start looking for your glows and your grows. So those wonderful things that you notice. For example, oh man, I made it through the video, through my lesson 5 minutes, didn't say like once. So that's a positive you can note for a timestamp comment. Well, maybe a grow would be, okay, so after that 5-minute period, for the next 2 minutes, I said like 30 times. Yeah, I need to work on that. So you're going to note those throughout. And then the final step, which I think is going to be the most important, is that's where you do your summary. So you're going to summarize those important parts, that reflection piece, as well as set your next steps. So when are you going to record another video? Is it going to be later on that week? Are you going to do it once a week, once every other week? So have coming up with that schedule and making sure that you stick to it, because as we all know, it's not one and done. You're not going to do this once and then automatically be an expert or on whatever it is you were working on. And then, of course, you're going to share your video if need be, whether that's to get a second opinion from another teacher. Maybe you're working with your coach on something else, but you can, of course, share that video. And then, of course, after you save everything, it's party time. You get your confetti and like celebrate.
You know what I love about that example, Kelvin, is yes, you can, of course, utilize the timestamp commenting or different types of annotations. You can, as Kelvin has explained, you can identify your glows and grows through a bookmarking system that we have in place that has a little icon to represent glowing with a star and an icon to represent growing with a light bulb, just to indicate, this is an idea, this is a question I have about what went on here. And if you do happen to use Teams with Swivl's robot, you can also timestamp as you do the video. And with Kelvin's example specifically, utilizing another student in the classroom who's already noticing you saying, will be really beneficial here, because they can use one of the markers of the robot and click one of the buttons that will correspond to the star and the light bulb. So every time they hear you say it, they can click one of those buttons and it'll timestamp the video for you. So you'll actually know just how many times you've said or like as you're going through it. And you'll be able to involve students, which they love helping, at least in my my experience working with even just all grade levels in 9 through 12 when I was teaching. They loved having a job, so
Yes.
I'm sure that that's the same everywhere. And I'm even using the word now. How many times have I used it throughout this stream? Who knows? But if I had bookmarking in my arsenal, I'd be able to really count, and that would save me a lot of time too.
Yes, definitely. And it's funny because normally, like I said, you don't notice it, but if someone mentions it, then you start to just like, okay, I think I am saying that a lot, right? It's funny how that works. So if you, again, have any questions about that, like I said, drop them in the chat. We're going to move on to our final portion because, believe it or not, it's almost been 30 minutes. This has been great. Time's just flying by. So we wanted to leave with some final thoughts for you, and just have one final question, and just wanted to see if you could share any concrete examples of how you'll use self-reflection, either with yourself, or if you might be a coach or maybe administrator with those teachers or individuals that you happen to supervise. Okay. And I guess while we're waiting for some of those to come in, we can go ahead and, of course, share our thoughts on that, and the concrete examples there. Thoughts about sessions for self-reflection. All right, so don't fight. Who would like to go first? I'll let you decide there.
Well, I love using this example even in outside of education now. Like, where do I want to focus my own professional growth? I feel like that that sense of being a lifelong learner, it's not lost on me now that I'm outside of the classroom. So when I was in the classroom, for sure, I definitely had things that I wanted to work on personally. I wanted to build bridges with with and among my students. I wanted to get to know them on a deeper level than just surface. I wanted to be responsive to their emotional and cultural and social needs, and those were internal goals for myself. They weren't necessarily provided to me by my coach or anything like that. It was just a deep desire to connect with every student. And now that I work in a different capacity, I still go through and watch my own recordings of internal meetings or even these webinars and wonder, what else could I have inserted into that moment that would have provided clarity for the person I'm working with, and to avoid them having to ask me needless questions that I could have clarified for them if I had just been more transparent or more open. Like, there's a lot of examples in my professional life now where I can still be really reflective on the way I am as a presenter or as a colleague. So I just feel like there's applications in every facet and every walk of life. So Oksana, what about you? How could you
Speaking about all those things, what I would like to mention is that at least, again, personally for me, when I hear the word self-reflection, I think about myself, my behavior in the classroom, or as you have mentioned, in the internal meetings, my gestures, my usage of words. But the second thought that comes to me, not the first one, is that it's not only about me, it's also about the people who I interact with. And it is also very important to pay attention to their behavior, whether they were involved or engaged enough while I was presenting or speaking. And what is maybe more important, and I suppose we are going to speak about it at our later webinars, is my interaction with them. Did I catch their mood? Did I catch that they were getting bored and I needed to change the activity? Did I catch in just in time that the activity was too long or something like that? So self-reflection is not only about me, it's also about the people I interact with and my relationship with them. The next thing is speaking about the summary. What I would like to mention is that when you make the summary, always praise yourself. Even if you have found lots of growth areas to grow, I'm sure you've done a great job. And you need to praise yourself for everything you've done well during this recording. I'm sure there are so many good things that you've done. So, and then just come to the growth. And even if you see that, like, there are several points for you to grow, to develop later, what I would suggest is to choose one point at a time. So try not to improve everything the next time, right? It is possible, but it will take so much effort, energy, I know. So I would suggest just choose one point and concentrate on it next time. Focus on it. The next recording, concentrate on the second point for improvement. Yeah, the second trim for improvement. Then the next one, and it won't be so stressful for you, but you will be able to see the result, and I think it works.
Excellent. Thank you. Oh, looks like we actually have a comment for someone. Oh, there it goes. Erin had mentioned she would love to record myself to check student engagement and conversation versus how much I'm talking.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say that's one, especially when I was in a classroom, that I tended to struggle with a lot because my wait time was not the best. I would say, I would wait and I was like, awkward silence. It bothered me. It took me a while to grow out of that, and I would just keep on going instead of giving them time to think and be able to, reflect and then answer the question that I had asked. So yes, that video, I'm so fond of saying now, don't lie, it's right there. So I don't believe that's how that happens. Like, are you sure? Because this is right here. This is the data. We got visual proof of what happened. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. And that's actually, oddly enough, thank you for that, Erin, is what I was going to say. So I guess great minds, right? With that being said, I would just like a couple of wrap up things here. First and foremost, thank you all out there in our social media sphere for joining us today. Thank you to Oksana and Rachel. Appreciate it very much for you being here. As you can see, you can always join us on our weekly Q&A sessions on Thursday. The registration link is there. It's a similar format, but you can bring any of your Swivl questions there. We will ask. So no matter how small or big, I guess I would say, and it's really nice. Like I said, just join us. That one's going to be on Zoom. Our next Swiveling Beyond session is going to be next week, Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to be looking at empowering peer-to-peer feedback with sessions. So we'll be discussing sessions again, but a new sphere within sessions on how to do peer-to-peer feedback. So hopefully you're able to join us. If you haven't already done so, please feel free to like and subscribe to our YouTube video. You can follow us also on our social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram, Facebook as well. And of course, you can set up those notification bell icons so you can be notified when we are going live, or just to know when we do have a new video that is coming out. So with that being said, thank you all so much. We greatly appreciate it and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye.